Hi, this is Mahavan Das. Welcome to another video. Today we're looking at 7 habits that guarantee the surest and quickest progress towards the actual goal of yoga and meditation, which is to make the ultimate connection. These habits are based on the prime yoga text, Bhagavad Gita, and today we're just giving a short introduction to them. If you'd like more information, please check the link below for Bhagavad Gita as it is. I hope you enjoy the video. 7 habits of highly progressive yogis. I was first inspired to present this topic about 10 years ago after returning from my first trip to India. India has many interesting sights and sounds, especially for a small town Kiwi like myself. And I was particularly fascinated by the traffic. There's the sheer volume, so many vehicles. In Cambridge, a small town here in New Zealand where I grew up, a car might pass your home once an hour if it's a busy day. And it's a really big event. You might rush to the window. Wow, was that a car? Who was it? Where are they going? What are they doing? But in India, there's so much traffic and it's all overloaded. It's even common to see whole families on a motorcycle, and a small motorcycle, on the drive from New Delhi to the town we were staying at, so a few hours away. I saw that several times. A family of 5 with dad riding, his daughter sitting on the petrol tank, his son behind him, and his wife behind the son holding a newborn baby. Quite a sight for someone from Cambridge. And out of the 5 family members, there was one motorcycle helmet. And who was wearing that? I'm sure you can guess. And there's also a lot of non-human traffic. Dogs, cows, buffaloes, donkeys, camels, even elephants sometimes. And on that drive out of New Delhi, these 2 gentlemen sped past us. And I thought, wow, these guys look really interesting. And I asked our taxi driver, hey, can you speed up? And I'd like to check them out a bit closer and maybe get a picture. And as you can see, they were happy to have their picture taken. And this picture reminds me about how in the past, thousands of years ago, yogis could develop fantastic mystic powers. They could walk on the water, they could read people's minds, and some could even travel anywhere they liked at the speed of the mind. Imagine that, no airfares, greatly reduced carbon footprint, no danger of planes falling out of the sky. As a sign of the times though, today many, like this jolly gentleman here, prefer more conventional forms of transport. So the encounter reinforced for me an essential principle of the yoga system, that what might have been possible in the past isn't necessarily possible now, and we must move with the times if we actually want to be progressive yogis. Now, what is a yogi anyway? A yogi is someone who practices yoga. And when you think of yoga, you probably think of a decent-sized room full of people wearing tight clothes with mats on the floor, all facing a teacher who's telling them, bend like this, move like that, hold this posture for this long, relax, breathe. And that is one small part of the ancient yoga system. But originally, yoga means connection. And a yogi is someone who practices yoga to make the ultimate connection. Now, what could that be? What could the ultimate connection be? Today we're very interested in connection. If my Wi-Fi drops out here at home, I'm alarmed. If my mobile broadband drops out when I'm out and about, I'm immediately, hey, what's going on? I've lost my connection. Or if I can't connect my Bluetooth headphones or speaker, I'm disturbed. Because I feel that that connection is serving me. It's valuable. But what is the ultimate connection? And how can the yoga system help us to make the ultimate connection? The yoga system can help us to do that by empowering us to connect to the highest pleasure. That is the actual goal of yoga, and that is the ultimate connection. And about that ultimate goal of yoga, the prime yoga text, Bhagavad Gita, has this to say. In that joyous state of yoga, one is situated in boundless, unadulterated happiness, experienced through purified senses. Making this connection, one never gives it up, knowing there is no greater gain. Sounds okay, right? Yeah, I wouldn't mind connecting to that. So, what does it take to make real progress towards this ultimate connection today? My personal insight is that it doesn't really come from our location or going to exotic destinations, but from developing the right habits. And I've isolated 7 habits that facilitate the quickest and surest progress towards the ultimate connection, as referred to here in the Bhagavad Gita, right here and now. These habits help me personally every day, and that's what I wanted to share in this video. Some of the habits create direct progress towards the ultimate connection, and some help by facilitating that connection, and some help by preventing things that get in the way of our progress towards that ultimate connection. And the last habit links all the others together and is therefore the most important of all. So, let's start with habit number 1. Real me time. Have you ever tried to improve at something or learn something new, but just not made the time? If you're like me, and you have, then I'm sure you can agree with me that it's quite a frustrating experience, isn't it? I've been in that situation many times. Okay, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to learn a musical instrument, even just I'm going to try and improve my spelling, which I really do need to do. But because I haven't made the time, nothing happens, except perhaps some frustration. So this first habit is about priorities and understanding our most valuable resource. Our most valuable resource is our time, because for all the money in the world, we can't buy back 1 second of our lifetime. Now, we know about me time, but what is real me time? It's time for the part of us that doesn't change. The real me is the part of me that doesn't change, the observer of the changing aspects of me. I take it for granted that when I look in the mirror each morning, that I'm seeing me. But as time has passed, who I see every morning has changed so much. If I look at a picture of me as a baby and a picture of me now, it's very hard to tell that they're the same person, but they are. So who is the unchanging observer of who I see in the mirror throughout my life? That's the real me. And so the progressive yogi develops the daily habit of putting aside some time to understand that real me, because this is the beginning of making the ultimate connection. So the first habit is putting aside some daily real me time. How much time? Well, I suggest 10 minutes a day as a great starting point. And how should we fill that 10 minutes? I would suggest habits 2 and 3 for 5 minutes a day each. So let's take a look at habit 2. Inquire into the higher. Yoga wisdom tells us that after making progress through so many species of life to the human form, now is the time to inquire into the higher, because that is the unique ability of the human form of life, which enables us to make the ultimate connection we are unable to make in any other species. And there are basically 3 questions that we want to ask, at least preliminarily, and get correct answers to. Number 1, we just discussed. Who is the real me? Number 2, what is the highest pleasure? That's a nice question, isn't it? And number 3, how do I connect to that highest pleasure? Now, these questions may actually sound a little scary, because in consumer society, we're taught to think that the big questions are actually small, and the small questions, they're big. They're the big questions. They're the questions we should really be asking. So to seriously ask these questions does take a bit of courage, because people may think you're a little strange. But progressive yogis take up the challenge, understanding that they can't be successful in their quest for the ultimate connection, for the highest pleasure, without asking and answering the big questions. We move on to habit number 3, connect to sacred sound. In previous ages, yogis could make the ultimate connection through the meditation process. Today, though, that's not practical, because it requires extreme solitude, extreme determination, and an extremely long life. So the yoga texts recommend another method for this age, which is practical and gives the same result, and that is mantra. Mantra is a sacred sound, or a non-material sound, that frees the mind from all anxiety by connecting it to the supreme source of all pleasure, known as Krishna. It's very simple and effective, and can be practiced by one person by themselves or in a group with music. Sacred sound, or mantra, is really the practical technology of the yoga system, just as we have technology today, information technology, Wi-Fi technology. So in the yoga system, the practical technology for making the ultimate connection is mantra, particularly in this age. And it can bring us all our non-material necessities. We can start with just 5 minutes a day of personal practice, and we'll see great results. Habit number 4, eat from the heart. Eating is a big part of life, and the law of nature is that one living being is food for another. So the yogi considers how he or she can eat by causing the least amount of inconvenience and suffering to other creatures. Whenever we eat, there's a karmic reaction, and the more inconvenience and suffering we cause to other creatures through our eating, the bigger the reaction. So the progressive yogi chooses a plant-based diet, as that causes the least inconvenience and pain to other creatures. This is what it means to eat from the heart, to eat with compassion. Beyond that fundamental choice, the yogi also understands that karma of any kind is like baggage that slows him or her down on the progressive path, and therefore uses specific bhakti yoga technologies in cooking that make the eating process completely karma-free. Habit number 5, clean, clean, clean. This one may be a little difficult to understand, how cleaning can actually be an assistant to making the ultimate connection. The principle here is that our external environment affects our internal environment and vice versa. And that can work either in a positive way or in a negative way. So an example of the internal environment affecting the external environment in a negative way is climate change. We see that today human beings, because of messy consciousness, because of a messy internal environment, have become the only species in history to destroy their own external environment, pollute the earth, pollute the water, pollute the air. That's an example of the internal environment affecting the external in a negative way. Now for yoga practice, this can also work the other way, in other words in a positive way, to our advantage. If we create a very clean and pure external environment, that will help to create a clean and pure internal one, which inspires us and makes it easier to practice the other habits. In a clean, pure place, you become inspired to make real me time, to inquire into the higher, to connect to sacred sound, to eat from the heart. And this is one reason why yogis would traditionally live in forests and on mountaintops, because those environments are very clean and pure. So they are an assistant to making the ultimate connection. And I found it very helpful to have a clean, tidy place set aside in which I practice habits number 2 and number 3. Habit number 6, avoid womads. Another reason that yogis would traditionally live in seclusion is to avoid distractions. What are womads? Womads are weapons of mass distraction. I grew up before the internet, before mobile phones, before social media. Somehow or other I managed to survive. And probably the biggest distraction then was the television. But of course, you could only watch the television at home or at someone else's home. Nowadays though, we carry a television with us wherever we go, and much more in our pockets with these mobile devices. And I'm sure you're aware of how distracting they can be. So understanding that these womads produce high levels of stress, anxiety, distraction, the progressive yogi avoids them as much as is possible. Personally, what I do is I have bookends at the beginning and end of my day. I don't go online before breakfast, and I don't go online after dinner. And I also don't use the WOMAD while eating. Finally, habit number 7, strength in numbers. So in past ages, it was possible to, so to speak, soar the spiritual sky solo. But today, strength in numbers is really the name of the game. Why is it not possible to go solo today? The atmosphere is just too distracting. And so we really need a support network around us. You can see here in this picture, this man is trying to break many sticks, and it's very difficult. If we try to break one stick, of course, that's very easy, but many sticks wrapped up like that, it's very difficult. So this is particularly true today in terms of making the ultimate connection, becoming a progressive yogi. We really need the support of other progressive yogis around us to encourage us, to inspire us, to educate us, to guide us. And in that good association, naturally, we'll want to make real me time, inquire into the higher, connect to sacred sound, eat from the heart, clean, 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 and avoid womads. And in this way, actually make real progress. Which, remember, means making progress towards the ultimate connection, the highest pleasure. So I've found that these 7 habits help me every day, and I've seen them help so many others over years and decades, and I'm sure that anyone who takes them seriously will also make genuine progress towards the ultimate goal of yoga. I'm sure that anyone who actually applies these principles in their life and develops them into habits will become a highly progressive yogi. So there you have my 7 habits for highly progressive yogis. As I said, these habits help me so much every day, and I'm sure they'll help you too. Remember, if you'd like more information about them, please check out Bhagavad Gita as it is, and you can find a link for that book in the video description below. Thank you again for joining me. Stay safe, and until next time, namaste.